Today, Moscow is a metropolis of over 11 million people. But 800 years ago, it was a small village on the banks of the Moskva River. A modest settlement surrounded by simple wooden defenses. It gave little indication of its future greatness or its ability to evolve through adversity. Moscow was frequently attacked and destroyed. Yet each time, it rose from the ashes, stronger and better defended. Its first real test came in 1238. This time, they faced a new enemy, the Mongols. Moscow had been largely unaware of the growing threat in Central Asia. Genghis Khan, founder of the Great Mongol Empire, had conquered most of the Asian continent. His descendants continued his work to expand the empire. His grandson, Batu Khan, led the armies of what would become known as the Golden Horde. Their goal, to extract money from principalities they conquered. One by one, states in the region, known collectively as the Rus, fell to the Golden Horde. Moscow was next. In 1238, the Mongol Golden Horde surrounded Moscow and besieged its wooden walls. It would only hold out for 5 days. Moscow burned. That could have been the end of its story, but the people of Moscow were resilient. They would not give up their home or their control of the Moskva River, an important trade route. They began to rebuild and strengthen Moscow's defenses. Yet one question remained. Would the terror return? Moscow faced certain ruin as Mongol raiders burned their way through the wooden city. With no other Rus coming to their aid, it was up to the people of Moscow to drive away their attackers and beat out the flames.
Что? Поражайте!
Исправлен.
Часов? Исправляю! Что? Исправляю.
Жду. Исправляем. Исправляем, Баки.
Побегите! И ворога! Он я готова,
Исправляем.
The remaining Mongols were driven away by the tenacious Muscovites.
Часов! Часов! Делаю!
Что? Да. Исправляю. Тихо.
Исправлю. Готов есть. Исправляю.
Что?
Часа?
Часов. Иду. Рождаемся.
With the Mongol raiders repelled and the fires extinguished, the Muscovites
Готово
began
есть.
rebuilding.
Труждемся на земле.
The Muscovites knew that they could rapidly construct buildings out of wood, and so gathered what they needed from the forest.
А? Земля, народ. Жду. Сбираю.
Урон землю. Часа? Строю. Часа? Зидание. Копия готова, сэр. Иду.
А? Иду.
Что? Иду помалу. Исправлен. Часа?
Тихо. Да. Что? Часо? Добро есть. Идон? Сделаю. Иду вперед. Иду помалу.
The woods surrounding Moscow provided an abundance of resources,
Я иду.
but danger lurked within.
Ладно, я...
Predators stalked in the shadows looking for an easy meal.
Копия ищется, Сонь. Крепите!
Иду помалу. Да? Путь.
Копейщик есть где? Набрать!
Дворевник есть. Часов.
Позоротай есть. Что?
Several villagers had fled during the Mongol attack, and some were still in hiding.
Часов. Свидание. Часов. Идем добывать.
Готов есть. Прием. Что? Бей врага. Ладно, есть. Добро есть. Рожден сын на земле. А? Да. Иду. Исправляю.
The fleeing villagers had taken refuge in forest hunting cabins.
Слушайте.
Here, the Muscovites could bring valuable animal pelts, which provided them a good livelihood.
Дворевник есть.
Копия готова, сотня. Повинуемся. Копейщик есть где? Да. Готов есть.
As the city rose from the ashes, the Muscovites would lay the foundations for a unique fortified complex. This iconic structure would be known as the Kremlin.
Тихо! Гриндите! На казинове, сотня! Все?
добычу.
Готово есть.
В наказе, соть.
Жду. Иду вперед. Строим. Куда? Добываю.
Часа. Идут добывать их. Копейщицы, готовитесь? Напрячь, копейщицы. Стрельбище есть!
В наказе банда.
А? Сделаю. Зряво.
Позаротай. Идан.
Жду. А?
Помогите!
Рублен.
Приготовляйтесь всі. Чего делать надобно?
Наказе будут.
The once unassuming village of Moscow had been rebuilt as a city poised for growth. But to protect the city from further Mongol raids, it would need a fierce military and a strong defensive perimeter. The Muscovites knew that the terror from the steppe could return at any time.
Сие мне нравится. Готов трудитесь есть. Построено будет.
Радуйся. Построено будет.
Дело есть. Начну трудитесь.
Having been caught off guard by the Mongols before, the Muscovites knew they could come under attack at any moment. Strong defenses would give them a better chance of protecting their city.
Я построю сие.
Я здесь. Я построю сие. Дело есть.
Дело на добро есть. Стрела на тетиве есть.
тут на исходе! Сие возможно... Иди, надобно! Надобно есть! Надобно есть! Исходим! Иди, надобно!
Наказе суть.
Приуготовляйтесь все. Добывайте добро есть. Поразумер. Буду древо рубите.
Исправляйте! Делаю, что велено есть. Напрячь. Надобно в путь идти. Войне! Ладно есть! Глядите!
Готов трудитесь, есть. Чего делать надобно? Буду древо рубить. Тело есть. Накать. Исходим. Добуду мясо.
Работа ждет.
Слушайте. Добываю зверя.
Слушай наказ, снов. Идти надо помолу. Что есть трудного? Готов, ясен. На казиноде суть. Идти надо помолу. Что есть трудного?
Дело есть.
Приуготовляйтесь, Арти. Добывайте золото есть.
Лучник готов есть. Лук готов есть. Лук готов есть. Горцы, яко делать. Лучник готов есть.
Готовы идти. Люди, это сделаем сейчас. Построено будет. Начну трудитесь. Я здесь.
Дело есть. Люди, служите готовы. Построено. Чего делать надобно? Начну трудитесь.
Приуготовляйте. Идите. Воины, грядите, воины.
Наказывай.
Слушаюсь.
Готовы, трудитесь и есть.
Кто стреляет?
Построено будет. Готовы, трудитесь и есть.
Исправляйтесь. Приходите, воины.
Готовы идти. Я построю сие. Работа ждет. Начну трудитесь. Я построю сие. Дело есть. Отправляемся. Чего делать и надобно?
Стреляют в нас!
Начну трудитесь.
Что делать надобно?
Слушайте.
Начну трудитесь.
Радуйся. Буду древо рубить.
Слушайте. В наказе будут.
Hearing the foreboding beat of the Mongol war drums, the Muscovites braced themselves for another raid.
Слушайте все. Напряг поскору.
Сделано добро есть.
Брать будет. Напряг воины. Лучник готов есть.
Надо есть.
Слушай наказ, но. Цияка делайте.
Делай. Я поспешу. Сие возможно есть.
Стрела на тетиве есть.
Дело есть.
Есть! Воины, исправляйтесь! Воины, на брань готовляйтесь! Поставить дороги! Принять! Воины, на брань готовляйтесь! Приходите, воины! Воины, надо найти!
Я здесь. Построено будет.
Лук готов. Брать будет.
The Muscovites had successfully defended their newly built city against the Mongol raid. Now that Moscow could defend itself, its rulers looked to expand their influence into new territories. Horse archers were elite troops who galloped into battle, shooting their bows from the saddle, arrow after arrow after arrow.
The key to horse archery is being able to fit an arrow to the string, draw it back, and release very, very quickly. Horse archers use a special device called a thumb ring, and this gives us a special technique to lock the arrow onto the bow and shoot.
With the thumb draw, the arrow is placed on the right-hand side of the bow. And so taking an arrow from the quiver and onto the string was extremely efficient, allowing horse archers to shoot in rapid succession.
The three main shots are the forward shot, the side shot, and the back shot, also called the Parthian shot.
Both Moscow and the Mongols had a horse archery tradition that stretched back for centuries. Their armies were well matched with these light and versatile troops, and their conflicts were characterized by the horse archers' fluid style of warfare. Horse archers were famed for their surprise attacks. In Moscow's armies, they could be deployed rapidly in many different terrains, and then appear as if from nowhere. In addition to being expert with their bows, they used both javelins and swords for close-quarter fighting. Attacks could come from any side, so horse archers had to shoot both left and right-handed. Shots taken behind the head offered additional variety in the angles of attack. They were also expert at swarming across an enemy's front to decimate his lines. They were quick to retreat and just as quick to renew their attacks. Horse archers were Moscow's crack troops. They patrolled the borders and held them against invaders. Today, Moscow is a metropolis of over 11 million people. But 800 years ago, it was a small village on the banks of the Moskva River. By 1303, Moscow controlled land that encompassed the entire flow of the Moskva River. Its ambitions didn't end there. Moscow continued to expand its borders through its wealth rather than warfare. Its tactic was to buy land from bankrupt rulers. acquiring entire towns and villages in the process. As Moscow was still a vassal of the mighty Mongol Empire, it had to send envoys to pay them tribute. And Moscow's ever-expanding borders meant more and more revenue for the Mongols. But not everyone was content with the rise of Moscow. As Moscow grew in power and influence, its Grand Prince, Dmitry Ivanovich, reinforced its vulnerable defenses. Its wooden fortress, the Kremlin, was rebuilt. This time, in stone. But even stone walls didn't deter its enemies. By 1368, Lithuania saw rapidly expanding Moscow as a real threat. Joining forces with the Principality of Tver, they set out to challenge its dominance. They attacked Moscow. But the stone walls held, and the enemy retreated. Tension between the factions refused to die down. In 1370, Moscow marched on territories belonging to both Tver and Lithuania, igniting a full-blown war. Years of bloody conflict ensued, until Moscow's Grand Prince Dmitry Ivanovich finally defeated both enemies. Yet Moscow was still a vassal of the Mongol Empire, which still demanded tribute. Moscow must keep up the payments or face retribution.